one of my favorite things to do when I think about training is simply just to look for patterns. Patterns that are forming during successful periods, during positive periods where I'm actually progressing well. In the past, I have had a very narrow look for patterns. So I would look like a week or two before a successful period. I'd be like, okay, so this is where the secret is because it's manifesting itself now. Whether, the truth of the matter is that these successful periods could be rooted back like a couple of months. You might have done something a few months before that has led you to do this. I don't know if you guys remember the start of this year. I've spoken about this a number of times because it was a successful period. At the start of this year, man, I spent a lot of freaking energy doing RDLs. Romanian deadlifts up to 200 kilos for 5x5. That's what I was doing. It was heavy. It was brutal. I was freaking getting nervous before some of these sessions. But what that period led to was something really, really good. It was probably one of the best squatting periods of my life. I started squatting like a madman. I was doing 5s after I stopped RDLs. I started doing sets of 5. I got up to 190 kilos for sets of 5 on the back squat. And I remember feeling strong. I remember feeling just basically able to push through a sticking portion of the squat to that universal sticking point. I just felt strong and confident. Romanian deadlifts. Now, at that time, I didn't really understand that was the connection. Romanian deadlifts led to really good squatting. But then I kind of went on and I started deadlifting really well as well. And I hit my 265 kilo deadlift. And all of these wonderful things came from Romanian deadlifts. But I didn't realize that at the time. It took me months on end when I moved away from RDLs for whatever freaking reason. Moved away from RDLs. Tried doing something else. Started focusing really on squatting. And then the squatting kind of started plateauing and halting. And I started regressing to some extent. No matter how much volume I hit it with, no matter what I did, I was regressing. I didn't make the connection that the RDLs was the freaking meat and potatoes of the whole thing. Well, this time around, I've kind of, some freaking 10 months on, I've kind of had this thought for the last few months now. That posterior chain was the freaking driver for me, man. It's always the driver. Instead of going to Romania deadlifts, I really wanted to work on, initially I thought it was deficit pulls. I thought, okay, let's really kind of stretch out that posterior chain. Romanian deadlifts freaking on steroids. Just add more range of motion. That's what I thought deficit deadlifts were. It didn't really, do me justice as well as I thought it would be. So then I thought, okay, let's try the opposite. Let's try rack pulls. These rack pulls are freaking, they're bad. They kill me, man. They really zap the living hell out of me. Really tiring. Yesterday I had a session and I missed the top set of the rack pull. I somehow got through the freaking working sets, but it took a lot of energy out of me. This morning I woke up and I was sore, tired. I actually had a nap before going to the gym. That's how exhausted I was. But once again, I'm proving to myself that the posterior chain work that I do, whenever I focus on posterior chain, Romanian deadlifts, rack pulls, good things happen. Not just in the deadlift. Now I'm freaking doing deadlifts, 260 kilo deadlifts a few times a week. This has been happening 2 weeks now in a row. And it's all because I started doing rack pulls. This is what I believe. So I'm doing that. And now I'm freaking squatting well as well. Today I hit a 182.5 kilo front squat. Now what the hell does front squats got to do with RDLs or rack pulls? You might not make the connection directly initially, but if you're doing ATG squats, whether it be back squat or front squats, there is a huge demand on the lower back. If you think about that hip flexion at the bottom, you are basically sitting ATG as far as you can go. There is a lot of demand on the lower back to stay flat. When you start rounding the lower back, the lift is over. Either you lean forward, in the case of the front squat, you drop the bar. In the case of the back squat, you start freaking good morning that thing up. Not a really good bar path comes out of that. So you really need to have a strong lower back. That's what the whole thing is based on. Intra-abdominal pressure, psoas, iliacus, the lower erectors, QL, you name all these structures to keep that lower back flat is the key. When that starts to go, everything falls apart. Rack pulls takes the living hell out of my posterior chain. Lots of lower back tightness, pumping work when I'm doing this stuff. When I was doing the deficit pulls, I did a lot of them and I started freaking feeling like I was going to pop a hernia. So then I started also doing sit-ups, leg raises, hanging leg raises, all that sort of stuff. And so when last 2 or 3 or 4 weeks since I've started doing rack pulls, I've also started doing ab work. to accommodate all of these rack pulls, because I know, and now again, I'm seeing those results. When I do rack pulls, when I do RDLs, good things happen across the board. Deadlifting and squatting. Just feel stronger. I have this insulation in my lower back that I can pull 260 off the rack. I can pull, 180 for freaking, 3 sets of 10 twice a week. I've got that insurance. And for me, you might be different, man, but for me, the lower back is, the rate limiting step. That's all I think about when I lift, man. I had a scare when I was, early 20s. Had a back injury scare. I kind of injured my back, but it wasn't bad. I thought it was really bad initially. Somehow I got over it, and since then I vowed that I was going to freaking have a strong lower back. And I love squatting, and I thought squatting ATG was going to develop that lower back. It can and it will and all of that stuff, but train the lower back directly with some sort of bent over motion, deadlift, deficit deadlift, RDL, rack pull. For me, the last two, RDLs and rack pulls, are so well. The only reason I don't like RDLs, man, and it's a silly thing, I don't like walking that thing out, freaking walking with 200 kilos in my hands. I really don't like that feeling. Number one, the suggestion is, why don't you just freaking deadlift it? Deadlifting 200 kilos off the ground, for me, that initial push off the ground taxes me more than the actual RDLs. So I really want to start from the top. Rack pulls offer that. It's not on the floor. I don't have to walk it out, and it's just there, and I just pick it up and I go for it. Front squat PR. In recent times, I haven't given front squats a whole lot of attention, and this is what I get. It's incredible, right? Because, once again, you don't really see it from the outside. Rack pulls helping your front squats. It clearly depends on where your weakness is. But for me, when I feel really strong in my lower back, man, I'm like, let's go, let's fight. Let's freaking fight. Because I know I can squat 212.5 back squat. So I'm like, well, I've got a lot of leg strength. I can push this stuff. The trouble with the front squat is that not only is it legs, right? We know I can push more than 180 kilos with the legs. It's the rest of the chain. You need to have upper back tightness and lower back tightness. And I think those two are more mixed than you think. Initially I was all obsessed about upper back. Why is my upper back collapsing? But the upper back is the symptom. Once that starts to fall, you're like, oh, that's the start. That's not the start of it. If your lower back is weak, you will start to lean over a lot to engage your glutes. And then your upper back is dealing with a freaking whole nother fight. So you need the lower back strong, you need the upper back strong, and all of a sudden then you can translate that leg power into a front squat, and then you have a successful lift. Posterior chain. I got happy. I got happy after that 182.5. I was like, man, this is so freaking good. And then automatically my brain gets into gear, and I'm thinking about what led to this. Every single PR video I talk about this. What led to it? I want to know. Let's think about it. I want to jump into my freaking training log and spend the whole night thinking about it. The most of my energy in the last month or two has been spent on these rack pulls. Lots of freaking energy. So much so that I basically have 2 freaking hard sessions a week. Everything else seems to be like, I'm still moving weight on whatever. I'm still doing stuff like I'm bench pressing and all this sort of stuff. But to me, it's fluff because I'm not doing a whole lot of deadlifting volume. I'm not squatting a whole lot. I'm just focusing on those rack pulls. And they are taxing the soul out of me. But that's the secret. That's my secret. Might not work for you, but that is my explanation of what's happening here. How do you get better at the front squat and not really focusing on the front squat? I think it's rack pulls. I don't know what else did I do in the last that would explain such a good performance. Like today I felt I had 185. I decided to leave it and tackle that another day. I just feel strong in my lower back, man. And it's making me stay more upright. I don't know whether you guys realize this, but I felt upright today in the front squat. I felt all in my legs because the back from the neck down was just solid. I can handle this stuff. I can handle 180 rack pull for 3 sets of 10. And this is 180. This is you know what I mean? Like I just felt confident. Appreciate all of you guys. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.